Hey guys, Brian from Boas here. Well, we're now over a month into 2024, and today I want to explore 10 ways that you can enjoy your reptiles more in 2024. I had thought about doing maybe a New Year's resolution type video, but that was just way too cheesy and cliche. So I thought I'd do more of a kind of how to enjoy your animals more. And I always have this tagline, enjoy your boas, and ultimately we all want to get a lot of enjoyment and satisfaction out of boa keeping. And for a lot of us, we kind of get into a rut. And there's an original reason why we got into reptiles, and then maybe we're a few years down the line and it's just not as exciting anymore and we're just kind of doing the same thing. So sometimes you got to mix it up a bit. So today I want to explore some of the things. I'm not going to talk about my personal resolutions. I am resolving to do some of these things in 2024. So these are 10 ways that you can use to keep it fresh, mix it up, and keep getting lots of enjoyment out of reptile keeping. So the first idea is to read a book. And so many of us these days just get all our information online, and like you're watching this video now. And let's face it, a lot of stuff online just is crap. Hopefully you don't think that of my videos. I try to make them not that way, but there's a lot of crap online that's just garbage, useless, worthless information that just distracts our time and gives us the wrong information. So there's a world of information in books. Back before the internet, I used to always read books as a kid on reptiles, continuing into my adulthood. And recently I've been trying to get back into that. And I've been exploring classic reptile literature, works by like Raymond Ditmars, and my favorite here is Carl Kauffeld's Snakes, the Keeper and the Kept. Some of this old school reptile literature that might be over 100 years old still has a lot of valuable information relevant to modern reptile keeping. And then of course you can read a more modern book, The Complete Boa Constrictor Classic by Vin Russo. And I've been enjoying this Snakes, or Giant Snakes in Natural History, by John Murphy and Tom Crutchfield. And there are loads of other titles out there. So get a book, read about reptiles, mix it up a bit, and you'll be better off for it. The next thing you can resolve to do to enjoy your reptile keeping more is to present in a public forum on your reptiles. And this can be as simple as going to your son's Cub Scout meeting, taking out a few snakes, showing the kids, and telling them a little bit about the biology of snakes. Or you could present at your local reptile club if you're a member of a herpetological society. Always a great forum if they need speakers. And there are countless other forums that you can speak about reptiles. I know people don't like speaking in public, generally speaking, but it's always great to get out there, show off your animals. And when other people react to your reptiles positively, it just makes you enjoy them a whole lot more. The third way to get more out of your reptile keeping is to write something about your reptiles. And so this can be as simple as a care sheet that you've written based on your experience keeping a certain type of reptile. You might want to post it online on one of the forums. Or you could write an article for a magazine, or even a scientific journal if you're doing some kind of scientific study type aspect of your reptiles. But there are a lot of forums out there that you can present in writing. And it can be as simple as posting a picture of your reptile on an online forum and then writing a write-up, just sharing some information that other keepers might benefit from. And they might have questions for you, and it might just start a positive exchange. So always a good thing to do to write about your reptiles. The fourth idea to keep reptile keeping enjoyable in 2024 is to resolve to visit a premier reptile collection and observe the animals. And so there are plenty of really nice zoos, some of which have amazing reptile houses. For example, the San Diego Zoo and the Bronx Zoo are two that come to mind. There are also specialty reptile exhibits which show nothing but reptiles and really specialize in that area. And even a smaller zoo will often have a few really nice exhibits that are really nicely set up with beautiful animals. And it's always inspiring to go see these displays and take mental notes and just enjoy the reptile experience. You might see some animals that you've only seen in pictures you've never actually seen in person, and seeing them in the flesh is just a whole nother experience. And you might also get inspired as far as the enclosures that the animals are kept in, and get some ideas for your husbandry. So I always feel really inspired and really supercharged about my own reptile keeping after I see a really nice, well set up reptile display at a zoo or reptile park. The fifth idea to enjoy your reptiles more in 2024 is to upgrade one of your reptiles' enclosures and to go way beyond the bare minimum and just give them a really awesome, really nicely set up enclosure. And when you're at the zoo, you might get inspired by some of their enclosures as far as what you're going to set up at home. And so we always talk about like minimums for reptiles, like the minimum size or the minimum amount of hiding places, but you can always go way beyond. And I know maybe some of us don't have space to set up room size naturalistic enclosures, but you can always inspire to do that. If not, obviously for your whole collection, at least for one or two animals. You might want to just have a really nice display enclosure. You may even want to put it in like a public area of your house so that visitors can see it. Most of us probably have most, if not all, of our reptiles behind closed doors. That's not always accessible to the visitors, which is probably a good idea. But once in a while you might want to show off your reptiles for people that are just coming in, and they may not even know you have reptiles, and that might be a great conversation starter. But you want to set up a really awesome cage. It's probably going to be naturalistic, with plants and waterfalls and naturalistic scenery. Although it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. You can always be creative as far as the style of your reptile cage. It could even be like a work of art, for that matter. So just inspire or aspire to go way beyond what's necessary to set up this really amazing, awesome reptile cage, which will be a definite conversation starter. Idea number 6 to keep reptile keeping exciting in 2024 is to get your dream reptile. And a lot of people, it seems like they just focus on their next reptile. And if they're not getting new reptiles, they just lose interest. And that's definitely not what you want to do. So I was a little hesitant at even including this on the list. But as you may know, I recently got what was one of my dream reptiles, the Sri Lankan python. And after keeping pretty much exclusively boas for the last 20 years, it's great to mix it up and to have something that's not a boa. These pythons are just definitely a whole different experience compared to my boas. I've just really been enjoying interacting with them and their behavior. They're just really intelligent and inquisitive and a joy to handle. It's also really cool how fast they grow, because I've had these animals for about 5 months and they probably put on about a foot. Having these Sri Lankan pythons, which has been a dream of mine for almost 40 years, has really made me enjoy the hobby all the more. And we often have ideas about animals that we just can't get for whatever reason. Maybe they're just a little too expensive, or we don't have the space or the time, or they're just not available. But let's face it, we only live once, and you may regret when you're old and dying, looking back and not having kept that animal you've always wanted. So consider about getting that dream herp in 2024. Make it happen. If you have to, reach out to the breeder and get on a waiting list in order to get a hard to get animal, or save a little bit of money, or make some space in your house for a larger enclosure. But trust me, you really will enjoy that reptile you've always wanted, and it will probably really make you enjoy the hobby all the more. Idea number 8 to grow your reptile hobby in 2024 is to connect with people in person. And unfortunately, there's not as much in-person interaction these days, with everything being online. And people have really suffered for that in numerous ways. So make a resolution to connect with people in person. You can go to a reptile show, talk to breeders there, meet people who are interested in reptiles. You can go to a reptile club, see a presentation about reptiles, talk to other keepers. Or you could, as I mentioned, you can give presentations of your own, which was one of the earlier ideas. So the idea is just to get out there and meet people in person, even going to a reptile shop, for example. You want to meet people in person. Don't rely on this online connection all that much, and just take advantage of an opportunity to get together with someone and talk about reptiles in person. It's just a whole other experience compared to the online interactions. Idea number 9 to enjoy your reptiles more in 2024 is to make high quality photographs of them. So maybe you've been taking snapshots with your phone and posting them online, but you've kind of find it limited and the pictures don't compare in quality to some of the other photos you've seen. So make it a resolution to really understand the photographic process and to apply it to your reptiles. You don't need an expensive, high-end, state-of-the-art camera. Any digital camera that came out probably within the last 20 years, either like a mirrorless or digital SLR design, is more than capable of making high-quality photos. You just have to understand the process, what an f-stop is, what shutter speed is, what ISO settings are, etc. Depth of field, lens selection, different types of light, etc. Being a competent photographer is going to take a little bit of work on your part. You have to really do a little bit of practicing and a little bit of reading to really understand exactly what all the different concepts are to photography. But it's really not that hard and it's very enjoyable. And you'll get a hell of a lot more out of photographing if you really understand how cameras work and the concepts behind the process, rather than just blindly allowing your camera, your phone camera, to make all of the selections. And so it's also really important to look at other really nice pictures of reptiles to inspire yourself. If you have a photographer who takes really good reptile pictures, look at a lot of their pictures and then just basically do what they do. That's how a lot of artists operate. They are inspired by other great artists and they strive to emulate them in their own creative expressions. And photography is no different. And photography is also a critical skill for sharing your reptiles with other people. So it's definitely something that's worth cultivating in 2024. And the last idea, number 10, to enjoy your reptile keeping in 2024 is to take a reptile vacation. And by that I mean a type of ecotourism where you go to somewhere where there's lots of reptiles in the wild and you can observe them. It's always great to take any vacation. I went to Costa Rica a couple months ago, really had a good time. I saw quite a few reptiles, although it wasn't specifically a reptile-themed vacation. But Costa Rica is definitely a biodiversity hotspot, a great place to go to see reptiles and other animals in the wild. And the vacation I did was just kind of more of a general tour type of vacation. There are specific reptile-themed tours. You can get with a group where they know all of the best spots to go for reptiles, and they'll take you there and they'll show you the reptiles. And if you really want to get the most as far as the reptiles, that might be something that you're going to consider. And you'll probably pay more money for this than a general tour, so bear that in mind. But if reptile viewing is your number one thing that you want to get out of the trip, certainly splurge and enjoy the opportunities that this type of a vacation can get you. Incidentally, there are a lot of general tours that do a lot more than reptiles, and you can probably see reptiles as well depending on where you're going. You want to go somewhere like Costa Rica or the Amazon or a really reptile dense environment. But always a good idea if you're getting kind of bored with your life in general and with your reptile keeping, to take a trip to somewhere, mix it up a bit, and see the reptiles in the wild. So that's my list of 10 things that you can consider as far as resolutions to enjoy reptile keeping in 2024. If you have any other ideas for keeping the hobby fresh and exciting, please comment below. I'd love to hear your suggestions. As always, shoot me any questions or comments you might have. Thanks for watching and enjoy your boas.